All right, welcome into our weekly college football show over here on Better and Green. We have 5 games once again we're going to talk about. I probably should have known our record from last week. I will go back out and look at that one. But we have 5 games this week, 4 ranked opponents, or sorry, 4 ranked matchups, and then a very tricky number 13 Washington State at UCLA that I wanted to touch on. But Ethan, happy to have you here. Big NFL game yesterday. I can't believe the Commanders blew them out. Great bet by mine, by me -6. So happy about that bet, but excited to have you here. Looking forward to the weekend of college football and in the NFL, but we're going to focus on college football today.
Yeah, I liked the Bears, but the Bears remain ass. So uh, never throwing money on that team again. And yeah, you mentioned last week's record. I don't think we did too well. Don't know for sure. No, we are both on Kansas. That didn't go well. Um, yeah, I honestly can't even remember how everything else shook out. But yeah, I don't think we did too great. So hopefully this week's better. I feel good about all 5 games that we're talking about. So
Yeah, in the edits, I will have a little marker. So probably while you're watching this, you'll see our records over on the right side of our screen here. So we'll have our records from last week's our top 5 games that week. So we'll have a record, but recording right now, I have no idea what we were. I think we did okay, but honestly, who knows? I know I was on Duke, and that did not win. So,
sure.
but yeah, let's get into this game. The first game, the biggest game by far, the Red River Showdown. This is number 12 Oklahoma traveling to number 3 Texas. I know it's technically, Texas is the home team. This is played at the Cotton Bowl, so neutral site. It is in Texas, but it's at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. So Texas probably still has the advantage, but it's not at Austin. So what are your thoughts on this game? I will say Oklahoma got embarrassed last year, 49-0 against Texas. I don't know if that, I mean, obviously they didn't forget that. But that's a tough one to overcome. And probably the reason the line is abnormally high, I think, in favor of Texas because of last year's game.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too. I think Oklahoma's probably had this game circled because of that ass kicking they got last year. Um, yeah, when Oklahoma doesn't put up a single point in a game, that's pretty alarming based on how great their offense has been in the last decade or so. Um, I like Oklahoma here. I actually locked it in plus 6.5 already. Got that at minus 108. I think the line is, or sorry, plus 6.5. Um, yeah, is the line now plus? I've seen plus 5, plus 5.5,
Yep.
somewhere in that range. So yeah, I mean, money's coming in on Oklahoma. I definitely don't disagree with it. I think Oklahoma's a live dog here. This is the what do they call it? Red River Showdown. Is that
Yep.
yeah? So these teams very familiar with each other. Um, yeah, like you said last year, Texas just blew them out of the water. Wasn't even close. Yeah, I think Oklahoma bounces back here. I think this is a tight game. Number 12 versus number 3, both undefeated. Texas just kind of rolled against Kansas, which we've talked about Kansas. They're not like they're ranked, but they aren't like the cream of the crop of the Big 12. But I still think that gave Texas a little bit of confidence heading into this one. Might be a little bit overconfident, especially with the result last year. I think it's just a better spot for Oklahoma. So I do like them plus 6.5. I still like them plus 5, 5.5. But it's getting pretty close there. But yeah, honestly, I think they could win this game outright. Kind of like the over in this one too. I could see some points from both sides.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a college football show if me and Ethan didn't agree on the first game of the slate. So I'm right there with you. Oklahoma. I didn't get them at 6.5, but I still like the 5.5. If we ever get down to 4 here, I think it's worth switching sides. But 5.5, 5, even 4.5, I'm okay taking Oklahoma in this game. I think this is going to be a shootout. So I really like the over as well. I actually will be playing the over. I might not be touching the spread, but I will be playing the over here at 60.5 is not enough points, quite frankly. I think this game could be both teams scoring in the 40s. So obviously Oklahoma's offense is deadly. They did struggle a little bit against Cincinnati, but they blew out Iowa State, and Iowa State is supposed to have an elite pack or Big 12 defense, and they did not have one. So I think this is going to be a very back and forth game. Oklahoma realizes if they lose this game, they're probably out of contention. They're not going to be in the talks anymore. Texas, just because of that Alabama win, if they lose this game, they are still, I'm in my mind, able to make the college football playoff. Oklahoma doesn't have a strong enough schedule. Yes, if they have a loss against Texas. That's understandable, but I just don't think they have enough big games that will get them in as a one-loss team. Texas, as I just said, does. So I think Oklahoma is going to play lights out. They're just gonna. This is their season right here, and a 49-0 loss last season. Again, like you said, they had this game circled. This is a huge game for them, a huge rivalry, probably top 3-4 rivalries in sports, honestly. So a lot of emotion, a lot of stuff's going to go on this game. Love the over. And I do like Oklahoma to keep it competitive at the +5.5. So very looking very forward to this game. I'm also not a huge Texas fan either. So I kind of fade Texas, which has not gone well so far this year, but I don't know if I'm bought in yet on the Longhorns. But tricky game, exciting game, but hopefully it's, as I predicted, a 40-40 type of high scoring game. And I will be playing the over for sure.
Yeah, let's get a 45-42 Oklahoma victory in that one.
Oh,
I'll take that all day.
I love it. That's kind of how I'm seeing it. So I would love that. Next, I don't know how this team's still ranked, probably because they played two decent teams. LSU, number 23, is traveling to, out of nowhere, number 21, Missouri. LSU currently is a 4-point favorite. Over under this game is 64.5. I believe Jaden Daniels is playing. I saw briefly that he wasn't, but I think he is. Either way, ugly game. I think Mizzou is a little overrated. And I hate it because LSU, I just don't think they care anymore. 2 losses, they're done. No chance at 0% chance at the playoffs. Probably 0% chance at the SEC championship game. They're done. Their season is done. I just don't know if they have enough fight or care to battle in this game. I just think Missouri's frauds, man. Missouri, they're 5-0. They beat Kansas State, which we all know it's not the same Kansas State after losing their quarterback and Deuce Vaughn last year to the draft. They beat Memphis by 7, and they beat Middle Tennessee State, which if any of you guys took Middle Tennessee State on Wednesday, I apologize. Terrible team. Completely blew it. But they beat Middle Tennessee State by 4. So this team has played no one good. They don't blow any teams out of the water besides, I think they played a couple FCS teams where they win like 50-0. Those don't count. So they're 5-0 because of cakewalk schedule. Have a couple decent, Kansas State was probably a decent win. They're probably the underdog in that game. But I think LSU, even though they don't care, is going to get it done. So I'll take my -4.
Yeah, I'll disagree here, but it's basically like we're sharing the same notes. Like we have a Google Doc out right now because everything you just said is basically what I was going to say. I loved Missouri at +6. It's now come down to +4. I went to bed it today. The 6s were all gone. 5.5s were gone. 5s were gone. 4.5s were gone. So I'm not going to bet it +4. Getting close for me switching back over to the LSU side. But like you said, LSU, their season ended last week with that second loss. No chance of the college football playoff at this point. I can't remember if we talked about it in this show, but I was on Syracuse last week because of the same situation with Clemson. Didn't cover that spread, but I still feel they were the right side in that game. We talked about it, but just a ton of horrible penalties on 3rd and longs that their defense gave up, turnovers, things of that nature. Ultimately bit them in the ass. But yeah, after I just can't play on the team that had all their hopes and dreams crushed the week prior. So that would put me on Missouri, but I also think they're kind of fraudulent. Like you said, cupcake schedule. I think LSU is ultimately probably the better team. And at 4, it really just takes me off both sides in this game. So, yeah, if this gets back up to 5, 5.5, 6, I might play Missouri here. But until then, I'm just going to watch and see if I can get in live.
Yeah, probably just like you said, just a really good game just to not bet. But it is a top ranked or a top 25 matchup. We got to talk about it. But yeah, probably your best bet, honestly, just stay away. I'm going to let you take this next one because this is by far, hands down, the biggest trap bet of the weekend, or trap line, I should say, of the weekend. We have number 13, Wazoo, Washington State, traveling to UCLA. Washington State's a 3.5-point underdog in this game, despite being 13 in the country. 60.5 points is the total. Washington, before I give it off to you, Washington State is coming off a bye. So you look into buys a little bit more than I do. So I'm interested to see how you play a team after a bye. But the game before the bye, they had a huge win, super emotional win over Oregon State. So this Washington State team had zero expectations coming into the year. Now they're ranked number 13, and it makes sense that they're getting disrespected. But biggest trap, I'm going to let you take this game.
Yeah, this is tough. Yeah, Wazoo had the bye. UCLA actually also had a bye
Ooh,
before
okay.
this one, so double bye. So yeah, no real advantage to who had the most time off here. Like you said, it's trappy. If this were college basketball, I'd be all over UCLA. I think you and I both
Yep.
kind of attack college basketball that way. College football, I'm not as confident with, but I'm still going to lean towards UCLA. It just doesn't make any sense why they're the favorite, even though they are at home. Uh, Cam Ward has looked like, I mean, he could very easily win the Heisman if he keeps going the way he has been for Wazoo. He's kind of the dark horse out of nowhere guy, I think, this year. Doesn't play for the big name school, but he's been balling out. 13 touchdowns, no interceptions this year. Um, yeah, I mean, I just think Wazoo's the better team. It doesn't make any sense, which has to put me on UCLA. Haven't decided if I'm going to bet this one or not. Like I said, if it was college basketball, I already would have bet it. College
Right.
football, yeah, no great feel, but I think I'd have to lean UCLA for sure.
Yeah, that got me super excited for college basketball because that is exactly the line we take.
Oh, I
An
love it.
unranked team -3.5 at home against a top 15. Whew.
I love it.
Yeah, football's a little different. Obviously, it's a more physical sport. Usually, the more athletic, dominant team wins the game most of the time. Basketball, as we all know, kind of hit and miss. But so here's I sorry, Washington State actually has two big wins. They beat Oregon State, and then they did beat Wisconsin early in the year. Obviously, Wisconsin, new coach, new system. Early in the year, it's tough for a team to be solid after that. But I think Wisconsin's going to still be a pretty tough team. They should win that Big Ten West title. They should be playing in the Big Ten championship game. So they're still a quality team. Washington State was at home, but it's still a very impressive win. That's no joke you know, Wisconsin's no joke, even at home. So two impressive wins. UCLA's one loss, and I forget their other three wins. I don't think they're. I think the one was against a MAC school, and they were fine. Um, UCLA's one loss was to Utah, 14-7. Ugly game. We all know Utah, great defense. However, Utah's offense is not even close to the same without Cam Rising. So the fact that UCLA couldn't beat a terrible offensive team, and now they're up against a offensive powerhouse, like you just said. Washington State is setting all sorts of records right now, passing phenomenon, throwing for 400 yards a game. UCLA is known for their defense this year, which is crazy to say because it's the Pac-12, but their defense is actually great. I think they're averaging under 300 yards a game, defensive allowed. So their defense is phenomenal. They just haven't played a defense like Washington State. So even though it's super gross, I think Washington State's just so much better team. And UCLA, there's no home field advantage. No one goes to the UCLA games because it's 40 minutes away from campus, hour away from campus. So I'm going to go Washington State. I'm going to take them outright, but I'm also going to take them for the graphic +3.5 in this game. Ugly game. It's a trap. I know everyone, their brother is going to be in Washington State. I just think they're the better team, and I think they're going to get it done.
I think we've talked to it. Seems like college football, maybe in the last year or two, has just become so public. I
Yeah.
think like the public side wins a lot. I feel like so. Yeah, that's another maybe good reason to bet Wazoo in this game.
Yeah. Biggest trap by far, like I've said
Yeah.
3 times already on this. But next we have number 20 ranked Kentucky is at number 1, the Georgia Bulldogs. Line is Georgia is a 14.5-point favorite at home. Over/under in this game is set at 47.5. I have a pretty strong feeling about this game. So I'll just go. Georgia, we all know, has not looked great this year. Has not looked like a national championship contender, despite being 5-0. They are looking like Michigan for the first 4 weeks. They are squeaking by teams. They are doing ugly mistakes, not national championship level caliber right now. So they're not looking good. And now they're playing a Kentucky team who is 5-0, who's ranked, who honestly, like, this is Kentucky's Super Bowl this week. This is they have a chance to beat the number 1 team in the country, a decent chance. I know they're over a 2-touchdown favorite, but that's been Georgia every single week. And Georgia is 0-5 against the spread so far. So terrible covering Georgia team. Kentucky has all the momentum. I'm still going to take Georgia in this. I'm going to take Georgia very heavily at minus 14.5. I love it. I think Georgia finally figures it out. A great game against a ranked opponent who I don't think should, well, definitely not end the year ranked. Kentucky's, 3 wins I got written down here just shows that their defense sucks. They allowed 17 points to Eastern Kentucky. They allowed 28 points to Vanderbilt. And then they did have a decent win, 33-14 win over Florida. That's a good defensive battle in that one. But 28 points to Vanderbilt is disgusting. They won 28-17 against Eastern Kentucky, which is a very bad win. And then Georgia, as we all say, as I just said, can't cover. But this is a game for Georgia to insert their dominance finally against a ranked SEC opponent. And people are going to start realizing, like, oh, it's Georgia. They're still number one for a reason, even though Michigan should be number one. I agree. But this is the week. This is the week Georgia gets it done. I think they're going to win somewhere along the lines of 42-10. They're going to destroy this one, blow it out of the water. I would lean Georgia team total as well. I don't think that's came out yet, but all over Georgia for me this week.
Yeah, this is by far my favorite game that we're talking about here. My best bet of the weekend. I'm right with you. Love Georgia minus 14.5. 70% of the money coming in on Kentucky, so I'm waiting. I hope I can get the solid 14 there just to get the push if we need it. But like you said, don't think we will. 42-10 sounds right. Kentucky couldn't have looked any better. Just roundhousing Florida last week. Myself and I think a lot of the public were on Florida. I actually didn't bet Florida, but that was my opinion. Was never even close. And Georgia, on the other hand, like you said, has not covered a game yet. I mean, looked like complete shit in their first 2 games. UT Martin and Ball State obviously ended up winning both those games by margin, but slow starts to both. South Carolina had them on the ropes. Auburn kind of had them on the ropes there for a bit. Yeah, this is the game where Georgia covers. They're not going 0-6 against the spread to start the season. Yeah, basically Georgia couldn't look any worse through their first 5 games, honestly. I mean, I guess they could have lost to South Carolina or Auburn, but realistically, they couldn't look any worse. Kentucky right now, after that win against Florida, could not look any better. So I think we're getting a short line on Georgia. Yeah, I love it. I think they blow them out. Maybe, I mean, this is up there with one of my favorite plays of the entire college football season so
Wow.
far. I love it.
That's great. I mean, this is my most confident by far on the weekend.
Yeah.
Yesterday or last week's Michigan game was my favorite of the season so far. This is up there though. I think so. That's good. We agree on our most confident play. That's really good. So if you're listening, Georgia, take it. If you take anything from this show, take Georgia minus 14.5. I love it. I already love it so much. I haven't bet it yet, but God, I think it's going to go down to 14, so I might wait. But
Same.
I love it. I love it.
If it was already at 14, I already would have hammered.
Yeah, I think this might be a 3-4 unit play for me. I love it so much. Maybe I'll just do 1 unit and just keep doing adjusted spreads to Georgia like minus 30 or something.
Right.
The final game, again, we've talked about this team almost every week now. Gauntlet of a schedule, but not really. Notre Dame is traveling. Number 10 Notre Dame traveling to number 25 Louisville. Notre Dame is a 6. I screwed up that graphic. Damn it. Notre Dame's a 6-point favorite. I'll fix the graphic. Notre Dame's a 6-point favorite. Over under in this game is 54. I'll let you go. This Notre Dame team's kind of pissing me off. I lost on them. Well, I lost betting Notre Dame games 2 weeks in a row. I took Notre Dame +3 against Ohio State, that push. Then I took Duke +5.5 against Notre Dame last weekend, that lost. I don't know what to think about this Notre Dame team. They're good. They're not great. I don't know anything about Louisville. I know they're Purdue 2.0 from last year. Same coach, same quarterback. Well, almost same quarterback. Yeah, I have really. This is a tough game for me, so I'm just not sure. So I'll let you take it first.
After the last 2 weeks with the Notre Dame games, I'm taking a backseat on even thinking about betting Notre Dame. It's just it comes down to the wire. It's too close. So I'm not going to bet this game probably, but my lean is definitely on Louisville. They really struggled last week to beat NC State. I don't even know if they scored until the fourth quarter or it was late third. Down 10-0 most of that game and then came back 113-10. So they didn't look too good. Meanwhile, Notre Dame had their back-to-back down to the wire ending. Lost to Ohio State 2 weeks ago, obviously, and then that thrilling win against Duke last week. So not only that, Notre Dame after Louisville has USC on deck. So I almost see this game as kind of like a breather for them. They just had the two wild games. They're kind of catching their breath from them. They think they can maybe overlook Louisville, and then they have to go right back to another big matchup with USC. So I just think it's too many points. I still feel like Notre Dame's going to find a way to win this game late, but yeah, I would lean the +6, 6.5 with Louisville here. Just think the spot kind of favors them, and um, yeah, I don't know. I need to take a break. I haven't been betting Notre Dame, but I'm going to continue not betting Notre Dame just because their games always seem to be so close.
Yeah, that's the best thing of advice besides Georgia's spread this weekend is just not bet Notre Dame games. Yeah, there's one thing I'm going to say before I get into the spread here. The over 54 is alarmingly high in my opinion. Notre Dame's last two games, 21-14 win over Duke, with like two touchdowns scored in the final minute of that game. 17-14 Ohio State. And then, as you just mentioned, the NC State game for Louisville. Louisville beat NC State 13-10, and then beat Indiana in a disgusting 21-14 game. So the last two games for each of these teams haven't even come close to showing any sort of offensive hope at all. It's been an ugly games, defensive battles. So an over at 54, I was expecting, honestly, when I looked at this, I was expecting a 45 and a half, 46 type of over under. 54 seems high. So I think I'm going to take the square and the sharp side on this. So I'm going to take the sharp and do the over of 54 because that's way too high according to me. And I'm going to get square and I'm going to take Notre Dame to cover here. I think Notre Dame wins the game. I have a hard time seeing Notre Dame losing this game. They, even with the loss to Ohio State, they probably had the toughest schedule in the country so far. So I think one loss, they are definitely in talks for the college football playoffs still. A win here, and then against USC, that's your season right there. So this is a must win, obviously, for Notre Dame. I think they win it, so I'm going to take them on the spread. They might win by a touchdown, but again, like you said, they play every game close, every competitive game close. It feels like. So I'd probably stay away, but I think the sharp is going to be the over 54 on that. It's way too high for how these teams have been playing. So I think there's some value on the over. That should come down, so I wouldn't bet it yet. It's ridiculous as at 54. If it keeps going up, hammer it because something is off. But that should get down to, in my opinion, 52 and a half come kickoff. I doubt it will, but it's 54 is, again, I can't fathom why that line is where it's at. So I think I'm going to take the over, and then for the sake of the graphic, I'm going to take Notre Dame at plus or -6 in this game.
Yeah, I would agree on that overplay too. I think that probably is the right play.
Yeah, it's super high. Not really sure what's going on. So these we're gonna try to do weekly. Like 5 is just a perfect amount for us. 5 games. We're gonna talk about a couple ranked matchups. There are a lot of other important games this weekend. For example, Alabama and Texas A&M's playing. That's a 1.5 point side in that game. I think Alabama's slightly the favorite. I know that's a very important game. We haven't even talked about Big Ten. There's a couple weird Big Ten games. Especially Ohio State, Maryland, where Ohio State's almost a 20-point favorite. That's super weird. So if you're interested in knowing our thoughts on those games, I will have a couple blogs out on our website. That is Better Green, BETTOR green.com. So go ahead and check those out and subscribe over there on our website for weekly articles. But I'll try to get as much out of the games that I think are worthwhile to bet or, in bigger games. But this five game slate is perfect for us right now. I think it's a perfect volume. But if you do want more, check out our website there. That's all I got. Ethan, you have anything to add before we close out here?
Yeah, I'll just back that. Yeah, I know you've been doing a lot of the college football articles. I did restart my weekend best bets articles that have 2 college games, 2 NFL games. Last week I did go 0-2 in college, 2-0 in the NFL. So that will be coming out every Friday. So check that out. I do have strong opinions in both sports this week. And then there's some other games that I also feel pretty strongly about on this college football slate that won't make the 2 plays in that article. So I'll try to get them out in some capacity. I say it every show, but just follow me on Twitter. I tweet out almost all my plays. So follow me there, all free.
Yeah. And if you don't follow the articles on Better and Green, again, make sure you follow both our Twitters. Our usernames are right under our picture here in the graphics. So I know, Ethan, you do a lot of live betting and pregame bets over on Twitter. So go ahead and check that out as well. But if you want a more in-depth, check out our website. But that's all I got, boys. Good luck if you're tailing this weekend. Again, if you got anything from this episode, we love Georgia. Might be a 3-4 unit play for me. Yeah. So good luck on your college bets. Also, NFL coming up. Make sure you check out our latest NFL video. We predict every single game. Again, what a win by the Commanders last night. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Go Dogs.